Hello, everybody. Welcome to the UFC, the Prediction Strike UFC preview that we run weekly. We give you guys a breakdown of every single fight on the card, giving you the best investments, the worst investments, and maybe even the best plays on other sites that aren't Prediction Strike. So let's jump into it.
Righty. There we go. I can click buttons correctly. All right. We've got the man who can kick softly versus Leon Edwards. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, we also got Wells, who has taken a couple leg kicks from Sean Brady in the past, so we'll get into that in the main event here. But first, we got Guram. What was that, Wells?
I'll say I just can't wait for him to somehow see that and be like, "Oh, you want to play?" Boom! There's my leg. But like you're saying, Guram Kudrladze versus Kaue Fernandez. For some reason, I actually think I pronounced that right. But Jackson, what do we need to know about this fight?
You were close. You got Guram, but it's Caillou.
He's not bald though.
No,
Caillou?
Yeah, Caillou.
Like my bald brother?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like your bald bro. But yeah, I think this is actually gonna be a really fun fight. Guram on a dog, for sure. He's getting older, definitely older in fight years too than his 33 years of age would suggest. Really good striker, good kicks, manages range well with those kicks, also has a good reach when he's punching. But Caillou's reach is actually a little bit longer than his. Good takedown defense too at 79%. Also very active on the ground, pretty good grappler, can submit you, can definitely threaten submissions from multiple positions. He's coming off a short notice win over Jordan Vucenic, which, I mean, it wasn't Vucenic's weight class. It was short notice. Vucenic kind of gassed. So don't give him a ton of credit there. But Vucenic, I think, is actually a really good fighter. He's fighting on this card.
Is he the dude with the insane tattoos?
Yeah, he's the guy that's like fully inked up.
Yeah.
He also, what I learned about him too, is he started doing MMA without any tattoos.
So just over time, he's added VC to the account.
Yeah, exactly. He's like ultimate VC guy.
Respect.
Yeah, but so in this one, I honestly think Caillou can win this. His leg kicks looked really good in his finish win against Muhammad Yahya. He got it going early in that one, and I think if he can get it going early like he did in that one against Guram, he could pull off a big upset here. Guram's chin definitely isn't what he used to be. He's not as durable as prime Guram was. Caillou is also so good at moving forward. That's proven to give Guram some trouble in the past. Yeah, I'm going with the underdog on Caillou.
I'm going to rock with Kudrladze here, just blind value test. You're getting minus 400 plus favorite with only a 37-cent price increase there. So you're getting much better value on PS than you would anywhere else. So I think that's just one that to start off the card, I'm just going to rock with a bit of value you can find there early.
Yeah, it's really good value on PS for Guram. And what do you say the odds were now on this fight?
I'm seeing 400, but that could be wrong. That's on the UFC site, so I can get on a different site and check it out. But
that sounds pretty close. I was thinking of Caillou as like a 3-1 dog ish.
Yeah, 330.
Yeah, I'm just gonna rock with the favorite here. This is far too much out of my depth to try to comprehend these two. So we're gonna go on to the next one. We've got Nathan Fletcher versus Callan Loughran. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Loughran was the most. I want to say we took the dog against Loughran, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think we did in the Jake Hadley fight, and Hadley won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Callan's definitely a guy we've faded in the past. Nathan Fletcher, nothing crazy though. But Callan, he is a good striker, or at least a very powerful striker. He doesn't move at all, really, because he has such a wide base, so he just gets hit a ton. You'll see he absorbs 5.6 strikes a minute. But he can be good for sure. When he does try to wrestle, he can wrestle pretty decent takedowns, solid takedown defense as well. But generally, he's just really, really hittable because while he does exert some volume on the feet, he just doesn't move at all, really. He lost to Jake Hadley, who's a really small guy, and he Jake was kind of bodying him, which is a really concerning thing, I think, on the Loughran side of things. But Nathan Fletcher, this should be a good fight because Nathan broke his leg in that Ultimate Fighter fight. He fights in that same camp as Molly McCann and Paddy the Batty. Kind of fights in a similar way in the sense that he is a high-pressure fighter, is always coming forward, pretty well-rounded, can grapple, can strike. Decent durability, too. He's coming off a decision win over Zygmantas Ramaska. Had some takedowns in that one. The striking didn't look amazing, though. And Callan, not a big fan of his. He's kind of a heel as well, if you ever listen to him talk. Just not a very likable fighter, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Nathan Fletcher. He has a better cardio. He's definitely a dog. He has multiple ways to win. I'm not confident in Callan to use all of the skills in his toolbox in this one. I think we just see more of him attempting to stand and bang and defend takedown. So if Fletcher can get one or two, I think it should be his fight to lose.
Does he have the Guinness logo on his left tricep?
It is the heart from the Guinness logo, at least. Yeah. Yeah, dude. He is like Walmart Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I'm gonna be fading Loughran as well with you. Trusting Nathan Fletcher off of the leg break shouldn't be too much of an issue getting back into the swing of things. I feel like usually in those situations, if you get through the first couple minutes or whatever, you're getting the swing of things, it doesn't really bother you past that. So I think if we can overcome some jitters back in a home crowd environment, those English blokes don't tend to love the Irish at times, so could be potentially hostile, especially if Loughran is playing a bit of a heel. So I'm gonna rock with Fletcher with you.
Hell yeah. What are the odds looking like on this one right now?
It's pretty much
close. It's 160. Well, I'm seeing on the UFC side it's 160, but elsewhere it's like minus 120, minus 102. So pretty close to 50-50. So you could get some value on the Loughran side of things, but
yeah,
not
I
for
think
me.
I think at 160 personally, Fletcher, I'm cool with like using as a parlay piece, like a little two-leg piece money line, because I do think he could threaten a finish. I think decision is probably the most likely, but could see it happen.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any methods out just yet, but
yeah,
we'll get there.
Fletcher.
I would just rock with Fletcher by submission if you're really going to chase something. But if it goes to decision, he's in England. He should win. Yeah. We'll see if Loughran can survive. But we'll see. Shauna Bannon versus Pooja Tomar. All right. So last week I was wrong about the decisions, but I'm confident this one's going to be a decision. So who's winning it?
Dude, and we got, I feel like, do we keep fading the Indian fighters with Pooja Tomar? But yeah.
This fight feels closer to 50-50 than the odds are stating. It feels like it should be closer to what the PS prices are looking like here. So on PS, I think you probably go with the Bannon side, but elsewhere I like the Tomar side when you're getting plus 140 something on her side. This feels like just kind of a gross fight that'll probably go to decision, and it feels like it could probably go either way. I think Bannon is pretty hittable, and you could probably just try to clean up some strikes that'll try to outpoint on the scorecard. So I'm just going to take the underdog on whatever platform you have.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with Grant in the sense that I don't think there's really going to be anything super high level about this fight. It's probably going to be a bunch of slop. I do know that Pooja Tomar is a pretty decent kickboxer. She's probably the better just technical boxer of the two as well. She can also fight at range and in the clinch, but she definitely does have some issues grappling. She is not the best. She has good takedown defense, but if you actually get on the ground with her, she's kind of a fish out of water. So I feel like it's kind of just which way you see this one going. I think I'm just going to side with Shauna, who's probably going to be getting a little bit of hometown love, is bigger and stronger of the two. I'm just going to bank on her to be able to get a takedown and rack up some control time, basically, in this one.
Hey, there's a big Indian population in London too.
True, they might show out.
See the boys pull up, yeah.
That would be crazy. Dude, they might actually pull up for Pooja. That's a good point, Grant.
You never know. But yeah, I'm going to side with you on this one. It just seems like, okay, she's going to get the takedown. That'll get her the theoretical points. And yeah, that's that. Like, on to the next one. Wrong direction. Oh, too far. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Andre Pouliev. Want to say CLD is a very hot name in terms of prospects.
He's
right
a big
now.
favorite. And PS, you're getting great value here. Obviously, that feels pretty mandatory to take. Do we know much about Puliev's grappling abilities, Jackson? Because I will say Leroy is a pretty polished striker and a flashy striker and can definitely get it done there. But I am a little worried about his grappling ability. I think that's probably his one weakness. When you see a dude with a name like that, you always have to be worried about that as a possibility. So just wanted to get some intel there.
Yeah. So Pulyev, he can wrestle for sure. I think the odds here are probably justified though, because CLD is just that much better of a striker between the two. But like you're totally right. We did just see CLD get out wrestled in the RoboCop fight. But the difference I think there is CLD also really had to worry about Gregory Rodriguez's hands in that one. And I don't think he really has to worry about Pulyev. He just has to Pulyev's hands. He just has to stuff the takedowns, and then it'll be there for him on the feet because he's the far better striker. I think basically as long as he stuffs the first round takedowns, he'll be good because then Andres Pulyev's takedowns will become a little bit more desperation. He'll gas a little bit. It'll become easier for him, but he can wrestle. So that is the one thing. You're totally right about that. But I'm still going with CLD here, probably by knockout.
Yeah, I'm also on the CLD by knockout side. Pulyev, like many mistakes I've made before, has fought nothing but trash cans, and the one time he did fight someone with a record, they knocked him out. So, yeah, are we on to the next one?
Yeah, I think so. Grant, you're CLD.
Yeah.
All right. Tybura versus Mick Parkin. Definitely fun way to play the heavyweight fights is always just going the distance because everybody's going to be expecting a finish, I would imagine. But outside of that, that's the wealth of my knowledge. So Jackson, now what should we know more about?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one where I would not be surprised, which is, I mean, super rare for heavyweight fights. You're right that the odds for decision might be even because Marcin, I mean, Mick Parkin, he got a knockout in his last fight, but if you go back and watch that, it was like he punched him probably 10 times to put him out, and he wasn't out cold. He's never really had that one punch knockout power. He can definitely get finishes. Marcin, kind of more of a grinder wrestler. The striking's more there just to set up the takedowns. He's basically going to try to get you down to the ground no matter what. He's better working you down from the cage with trips and drags, but he can also shoot straight takedowns. He averages about one a fight. And he's coming off a TKO win over Jonathan Deniz, where he got dropped and then just grappled with him in response to that. Jonathan Deniz is a kickboxer, just exploited the holes there. And Mick Parkins, pretty tall for heavyweight at 6'4". Main kind of fighting style, or I guess the key element in his fights, is his pacing. He always slows down the fight. Pretty low volume. I mean, he keeps the striking volume high while moving slowly and keeping the pace where he wants it to be. But he moves forward, throws combos, might work towards the eventual takedown if it's not going his way on the feet by getting you to the cage or just shooting. Like I said, not fast. Volume stays decent, though, coming off that knockout win over Luka Bresky. And I think Marcin's chin is definitely not what it used to be anymore. We're basically just looking to see whether or not that will matter here against Mick Parkin. But I think I'm going to take at least the PS dog in Mick in this one. Because I honestly could see him stuffing some takedowns and then just out-voluming Tybura on the feet. And then you've also got maybe the threat of a knockout, though I don't think that's the case really. So I'm going to go with Nick.
I think I'm going to take Tybura by decision here. I liked your analysis on the going the distance side of things. He is 39 now, and he's been knocked out 5 times in his career, which is a little bit worrying. It feels like that steep slope of fall off is probably coming somewhat soon. He's just been a guy the last 5 or so years that is outclassed whenever he's facing a guy with real talent and real polished off striking. But you put him in a ring with a guy that isn't too polished and is kind of just trying to throw with you and smack around a little bit, and he's kind of handled business in the past. So until I see otherwise, it doesn't really feel like the chin is going to be too much of an issue in this particular fight, just given the power on the other side. So I'm going to rock with Tybura for now, but I think there's a chance that fall off happens here. Just not going to predict it just yet.
Yeah, I'm on the Tybura side as well. McParkin's part of Team Fish Camp or whatever it is. So I'm fading a fish, if you will. But yeah, no, when you basically were saying this man has pillow hands, I was like, oh, Tybura it is.
Yeah, he doesn't have one punch knockout power for sure.
So we will see if he's able to get some takedowns and on to the next fight. Loner Kavanaugh versus Felipe dos Santos. Let's see. Is the price even accurate relative to what we have here, or what should we be expecting?
Yeah, Kavanaugh is a -300 favorite, so
looking pretty
favorite
much
both.
there. Might be a little bit more fun to play on PredictionStrike, I guess, but we'll see where those odds end up. Yeah, Lonair, one of the guys I was most, even though it was a decision victory, I was super impressed watching him fight on Contenders Series. His speed and striking are really just what stuck out to me. He was basically beating Ochoa to the punch in every single exchange, even though he didn't get the finish there. And he's got really good movement on the feet. He is powerful. It's not just speed. Like, I do think he can get those finishes. The only thing is he can be a little bit low volume at times. I mean, hopefully that's just a thing that will kind of improve as he gets more high-level fights under his belt. But he is going up against Felipe dos Santos, who's a shoot-a-box fighter. Basically, how everybody there fights is they are okay with getting hit. They eat a ton of shots. Basically throws everything they have at you trying to get a finish. Grappling is mids, but offensive takedowns are definitely there. They're pretty good. Good pressure, too. Like I said, he's a shoot-a-box guy. He kind of fades because of that, though. He tends to gas a little bit because of how hard he goes. Obviously, Lonair is young guy, debut fighter, young prospect. You never really know what you're going to get when they first step into the UFC cage. But I'm thinking a pretty dominant decision victory for Lonair here. Only thing that concerns me is like the lack of high-level competition on his resume, but I think the speed, the striking prowess, and the cardio should all be there for him. Definitely help him out later into the fight. So just needs to weather a storm.
Yeah, I'm taking Kavanaugh as well.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm on Kavanaugh by decision. If he's in England, they'll probably try to keep his record clean and build him up. All right. Herbert versus Chris Padilla, who looks like he's preparing for a band of some variety. Yeah, what should we be expecting here?
This fight's seen a ton of line movement since it opened. I think Padilla was like a +200 underdog when it first came out, and now it's pretty much even as far as I can see. I am trying not to get spooked by that movement too much. I like the Herbert side of things, and basically you're just getting it at a better price, I guess. That is a little worrying, but I feel like Herbert has handled business and has done well against all the guys that he should beat. He's obviously not looked great, or he's lost against guys that now look like serious contenders in Topuria and Ziam and Renato Moicano and that caliber of fighter. But this is a clear step down from those guys, and this feels like the type of fighter that Herbert has cruised through in the past, and I kind of expect more of that to happen here. He also has most of the intangible advantages as well. He's taller, more reach, and he is fighting on home soil. So this feels like a situation where if you can get past the kind of sketchy line movement, I'm gonna trust the gut here and rock with that.
I think I'm going to take the opposite side of things here. I think there's a little bit of overratedness going on, at least in my opinion, with Jai Herbert. Like, he's fought a ton of good opponents. He dropped Ilya, but he lost to all of them. He's also super low volume on the feet. It did seem to look improved, the volume that is in his most recent fight against Rolando Bedoya. You can see that he lands about 3.16 to 3.37 strikes absorbed, but before that fight, it was probably in the 2-somethings. So hopefully that's just getting better at, through every fight for Herbert. But Padilla is a super well-rounded guy generally. Super explosive takedowns, which I think is going to be a big difference maker here with Jai Herbert's 59% takedown defense. So I think I'm going to go with the guy who, like Grant said, has been getting a lot of the money as of recent on him, which is Chris Padilla.
Yeah, I'm going to follow the line movement here as well. Going to decision with Kyle Nelson is not ideal. No disrespect to Kyle Nelson. But
it's just hard to know what you're going to get from Jai. Like, he could just stand there, or, he could drop Ilia Topuria.
Well, it's also like a question of like how good is Mauricio Rufy in theory, because it's like that's one of the more interesting wins is the one over James on top who went to decision with Rufy. Because then it's like, well, is King Green actually just completely washed at this point, and yada yada yada. But
I do think Green is washed. I think the Loughran win means absolutely nothing for Rufy. So, yeah.
Right on. All right, on to the next one. Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charrier. If I remember correctly, this Charrier guy had a ridiculous line last time we talked about him.
Oh, he did. What was that fight? It was Gabriel Miranda, right?
Yeah, I think so. Charrier.
And then I think, he got the knockout in that one.
Yeah, he got the knockout. It's always hard to remember like which one of the crazy lines are just like, oh yeah, that actually went how it was supposed to, and it's like, oh no, line was completely wrong.
Yeah.
But what should we know about this fight here? Because it's a lot closer than it was last time.
This is going to be a really fun fight. I think this is one of the more exciting matchups on the card because, we know how good Morgan Charrier was. He was like a minus 1,300 or something favorite going up against Gabriel Miranda and knocked him out. He's a really exciting young striker. Nathaniel Wood is also a really good striker, very powerful guy, good boxer, can also grapple and wrestle. He has 9 takedowns in the UFC, submissions in 3 of them. Good control on the ground too, high volume on the feet with 5.75 strikes landed to 4 strikes absorbed. And Morgan, like I said, really explosive striker, good movement, light on his feet, bounces around. Good clinch work, works the elbows and knees nicely. Also can move in and out of the pocket well. When he sees an opportunity, can bounce around at range. Good takedown defense too at 83%. Some takedowns of his own here and there too. Like we said, coming off the knockout win over Gabriel Miranda. So I like Charrier here. Really, really good cardio. Like the way he can mix things up, both close range and longer range. He can also throw in some takedowns if he needs to, if the striking's not going his way. But I will give Wood a shout out because I do think he's a good fighter. But the pressure from Charrier, I think, should be the difference maker here.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of value on the Morgan side of things here as well. He has had a bad record in decisions in the past. They have not typically gone his way for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a inability to impress judges or kind of really leave much damage on the opponent's faces post-fight. But I don't see him getting to a knockout in this one. So I'm probably going to lean with Wood on this one, who is the consensus underdog elsewhere. I think on PS, Morgan's probably the investment, but elsewhere, I would look at Wood, who's going to have a home crowd and a fighter who has not particularly done well in decisions in the past. So just going to rock with that because I feel like the extra home field advantage could kind of sway things here. So also like the pressure and stuff, I think Wood can fight towards a decision as well. He's proven to be able to do that in the past, and I'm going to trust the volume and pressure here a little bit.
So another case of pillow hands with Charrier, are we saying, or?
No, I don't know about that, but just in this division in general, I feel like it's hard to fight towards a knockout, and he hasn't impressed me a ton with power in the past. So I just feel like if this is going to a decision, and he has had a poor record in decisions in the past, and you have a guy fighting in England, it just feels like a situation where I'm gonna take the underdog.
I'm curious. I'm gonna rock with Charrier by my specialty submission. Yeah, we will see how that one goes. Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan. Yeah, what should we be expecting here besides potentially more artwork or VC credits?
Yeah, besides a victory tattoo.
Vucenic, he looks like the kind of guy that you would see in one of those compilations of like shit talking tattooed fighter gets knocked out within 5 seconds after chirping his opponent or something. He just has that tattooed build of things. But you are getting an elite price here on PS. I don't think this is one that you need to overthink too much. I think the Vucenic side of this is pretty much worth hammering. Big favorite elsewhere, and you're getting him $2 plus underpriced here on PS. So I'm just going to rock with Vucenic. This is probably the best investment of the card that we've seen so far for sure. But yeah, I completely trust him in this one.
Yeah, I'm a big Jordan Vucenic believer. He lost in that debut, like I was mentioning earlier, against Guram Kutateladze, but he actually looked really good in that one. He dropped Guram in the first round, and he was short notice in that fight at 185. Yeah, I don't think that loss says anything negative about Jordan Vucenic necessarily. And I think
he took it on short notice, I believe, too, right?
Yeah,
so there's a situation there where it was kind of an impressive showing, and now you get a full camp. It feels like a good shot.
Yeah, definitely. And Jordan has he has a pretty established resume outside of the UFC. He's won a good amount of fights in Bellator and stuff. So I think he's going to win here. Odds are kind of weird, I think, in the books. I think I said Vucenic is like a 3.5 to 1 favorite or something.
Yeah.
But, which I don't get. I don't think Vucenic, with his level of UFC experience, should be a 3.5 to 1 favorite, but I do think he wins this one against CD.
I like it. I'm rocking with Vucenic by knockout. I think this is how that's set up to be. So we will see if that's true or not. On to the next one. Meatball Molly versus Alexia Thainara. Jackson was telling me before the fight that this had some crazy line movement. Apparently, McCann started as a -400 favorite and is now a +150 underdog.
I will say, too, that this fight was supposed to be against a different fighter, probably one who was more cherry-picked for Molly McCann. So while a short notice fighter stepping up is usually not ideal in this particular situation, it could be one where the short notice fighter is a worse matchup for McCann just because you can't cherry pick it the same as you normally would in a fight for Molly in London. So I think that's probably worth noting a little bit. In the past, though, she's gotten some pretty crazy decision wins in London and has had definitely a bias. It's better for the company if she's winning there for sure. So I don't know that the Alexia side of things is really the best investment. This is probably a fight I would just stay off of because it feels like it's not a great situation where you're probably going to get screwed at some point and you're going to be like, why did I do that going in? So to me, this is probably just a stay off spot, but if anything, maybe take a little bit of value on the McCann side of things, but I'm not super passionate about it. I just feel like either way you take this, you're going to be upset with the outcome if it goes the other way, I feel like.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that. It, like Well said, it did start out with Molly as an enormous favorite, and I think that's mostly because Alexia, people just didn't do their research on Alexia, or maybe did a little bit too much research on Alexia and then changed their decision. But either way, Molly has ended up as the dog somehow. So shout out to you if you got in on Alexia as like 4 to 1 dog or whatever. But I do think Alexia might be getting a little bit overrated here. She's good. She's basically just all forward pressure. No real striking defense, but she throws absolute bombs. She keeps her hands super low. She's always headhunting pretty much. Can also work in some takedowns, not really straight takedowns, but more like trips and drags. Pretty good at working you on the cage. And yeah, kind of like Grant said, I wouldn't be super confident in either side of this fight. But Molly McCann has plenty of cardio. She can push the pace. She's mostly a decision fighter, and this is in her hometown. So I think she can squeak out probably a win here against Thainara. Going with the dog, meatball.
Yeah, if you want to get like contrarian, maybe a submission, because Thainara lost by submission to Bruna Brazil, it looks like early in her career. But like Molly McCann, just take her by decision. That seems to be the best value you're probably going to get. So I'm there with you, Jackson. On to the next one. We've got Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Big Mouth Holland. Yeah, what should we be expecting here? Kevin Holland's very, very fun fighter, very entertaining. Gunnar Nelson, decent mustache. Walks through it.
Good. Yeah, nice mustache on Gunnar. Yeah, Kevin, it's kind of been a weird ride for Kevin. He's stated, like, before his most recent fight, I think, that he couldn't care less what the outcome was. But I think he might have a little bit more fire behind his butt now after these losses, because he might actually be fighting for his roster spot in the UFC at this point. So maybe we'll see a little bit of like vintage try harder Kevin Holland, but overall he has given a lot of fighters in the UFC trouble. He's a powerful guy, mostly a striker, also a BJJ black belt though. Main hole in his game is, pretty much everyone knows it, it's his takedown defense. But he's a very accurate striker on the feet, manages range well with that length. He's got an 81-inch reach. Coming off a loss to Renier Ritter, where, I mean, Kevin, it was just in classic Kevin fashion. He just got taken down insanely easily. He got subbed. And Gunnar, he kind of is Wonder Boy-esque in the sense that he has the karate base, super wide legs, decent kicks, controls distance with his kicks, and then has pretty clean entries in the takedown department, good BJJ, decent ground and pound when he gets on top of you on the ground. He himself can be taken down for sure, and his actual takedowns are pretty much all right, I would say. Not the worst, not the best. You'll see he's insanely low volume on the feet, 1.84 strikes landed per minute, 3 absorbed. This guy has also not fought in 2 years. Last win was over Brian Barberena. I'm not going to be putting my money anywhere near this fight. If I would, it'd be on PredictionStrike betting on Kevin Holland. But it's like, I just out of principle can't put money on Kevin Holland in the year 2025. So not doing anything, but I think he wins.
Yeah, I'm sketched out as well. Nelson also seems to be lacking a bit of ambition. I don't know if either of these guys are like, at least in the past, have been locked in on really making an impression in the UFC as of late. You mentioned Gunnar's inactivity, also getting older too, so it's just kind of a weird situation to analyze. Kevin Holland, I can understand your point of him really fighting for a job, but at this point, I agree with you. It's hard to trust anything he says or anything in the build-up, because you could go in and he could look the exact same as it did last time. With just him being a little bit too nonchalant about things as he usually is. I do think there's probably value on the Kevin Holland side of things. I don't think either guy in this fight should be like a big favorite in this one. So I think you can take the underdog and just kind of watch it. But I would probably just watch this one as a viewer. I'm not super passionate about either side.
Yeah, Gunnar Nelson by decision. He's going to take down, and Kevin Holland's probably not going to be able to stop it. I don't know. If you're basically vying for a job behind the desk for the UFC at this point, like, what are you really doing? Like, I just don't see a world where he's trying to continue his fight career. But he is real life that. Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. Prices look wrong on PS in one sense, but yeah.
Yeah,
what should we expect here?
I think Ulberg's the best investment on the card from a PS perspective. I honestly think last time I checked, he was around 2.5 to 1 favorite in the books, and I honestly think that's pretty generous to Jan Blachowicz. Jan is good. He is 42 years old now. I'm just going to preface everything with I think he's too old to beat a guy like Carlos Ulberg in general, but He is the former light heavyweight champ, good striker, good wrestling too, well-rounded guy. Saw decent wrestling in his fights against Izzy and Thainara. Very well-rounded. He has wins over a ton of great fighters, including Adesanya, including Jared Cannonier, coming back after a decent amount of time away. And Carlos is a kickboxer. He was a kickboxer before transitioning to MMA. Has really good footwork and everything you'd expect a great kickboxer to do, manages range well, impressive striking differential at 7.2 landed to 4.27 absorbed, 83% takedown defense. Only MMA loss so far is to Kennedy and Chukwu, and he's coming off a decision win over Volkan Ozdemir. So, yeah, I don't see why the odds are the way they are. We're getting an amazing price on PredictionStrike for Ulberg. My pick is Ulberg for sure. He's just not, I don't think he's fast enough or young enough to keep up with a guy like Carlos.
Yeah, there's a lot of red flags in the Blachowicz side of things. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years. He's had 2 shoulder surgeries during that time. The age is obviously a concern. So I think the value play on PS or kind of anywhere, the best value you're going to get is right here on PredictionStrike with the Ulberg side. I will just say, I think there's kind of a lot of unknowns about Ulberg's game. I don't think he's been all that tested in the past. So if you see a situation where Blachowicz comes out and like looks pretty good, it could get scary pretty quickly just because, I mean, Ulberg might be prepared to handle all those things. I just can't say for sure that I know he is prepared for that as of yet. Just kind of a relative unknown in a lot of departments. I don't know that one in particular is a weakness. I just think there's some sketchy things on either side. So I think there's a path that I could see. Like I can envision a fight where Blachowicz comes out and looks better than people think, and people are kind of nervous with their holdings on Ulberg. But for all the same reasons you like him, I also think I can get there, and I will probably be backing him on PS in this fight. I can just kind of see the other side a little bit.
I agree. You can definitely see the other side with Jan, but like you guys are saying, like shoulder surgery, this is not ridiculous, but a long time away from fighting, at least competition. I think it'll be a great test for Ulberg. I think he ultimately will win by decision. I think Blachowicz should be able to stand his own for this fight based off his resume, but only time will tell. I imagine they're going to try to push Ulberg through on this one. All right. Final fight, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. What should we be expecting in this fight? Looks like we have a bit of a price advantage.
Yeah, this might be the best value of the card, too.
The price on Sean Brady is so good. It's so good. This is where it's been playing.
I like the Brady side of things. My take on it is that in a fight that you will probably assume will go to decision, you're going to see Brady stack up a lot of points in rounds. I think the wrestling and kind of pressure is going to be too much, and I think he's going to win a lot of rounds, and you're going to rely on Leon to pull out some moments of brilliance to really make a lasting impact with the judges in this fight. And with a guy who's had 1 knockdown in his last 7 fights, that's 2 hours and 35 minutes of total fight time. He has 1 knockdown, that coming by way of kick to the side of Kamaru Usman's head, which was kind of just an unlikely freak moment that he was able to land, but that doesn't show any sort of consistency to be able to create moments like that. He just been too kind of boring during his fights, I guess. Boring is not the best word to use because he's obviously incredibly skilled, but I just think Brady is going to be an advantage in terms of control, and that Leon Edwards doesn't really have the X factor to take over the judge's mind. So I'm going to rock with Brady here.
Yeah, this is such a tough one for me just because I'll preface with I think I'm leaning the Sean Brady side of things, but I do think Leon's wrestling is being underrated here. Like we've seen, he was winning some of those wrestling exchanges against Bilal in that last fight, even though he lost. He beat Colby Covington in a 5-round decision fight. Not to mention he also, he's got so much 5-round fight experience in general at this point. I just think it comes down to him being so low volume and Sean Brady, being the gamer that he is, that it's just a bad matchup kind of, especially with how good Sean can wrestle. And I do think he has the opportunity here to make this look a lot like the Bilal Muhammad fight and just wrestle him to a decision victory. He also, and it's like, maybe Leon will put it together on the feet, throw more than 2.68 strikes a minute. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just stand around. Andy also just has that wrestling disadvantage. So I am going to go with Sean Brady. Probably one of my lower confidence picks on the card. I think this is going to be a banger fight. We've seen Leon do it time and time again before. He's in his hometown, so this is going to be a great one.
Yeah, Leon's great. I will just add, I feel like he's been a little bit fortunate during his run for the title. Obviously, he had the kind of fluky knockout. He did look good in the rematch, but since then, or even prior to then, he's definitely had some layups and situations where he couldn't finish Donald Cerrone, couldn't finish Nate Diaz in that fight when he absolutely should have. It even kind of ended up with him on the ropes a bit at the end there. They then fed him Colby Covington, who looks pretty washed, and he passed that test with flying colors. But I feel like he has definitely had some fortunate fight matchmaking in the past, and this feels like a situation that's just not the best matchup for him. So I'm going to rock with that.
So why did he get knocked out by Bilal, just for my curiosity's sake, in reference to Sean Brady? Like, was he sick or something that week? I want to say we knew something about that.
Yeah, I think he just got caught, basically.
Okay. Because that's like the only thing I'm looking at that I'm like, I mean, technically, like, Leon kind of has the better resume on, like, the one thing that is defining, in a sense.
I think he literally just got caught. Like, Bilal is not.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Bilal's not known for knocking people out.
No.
He's known for spam takedowns, which he stuffed 5 of Brady's, which is also a very good grappler.
And it's like we've seen Brady since against Burns looked good then. Cardio seems to be good enough for 5 rounds now too.
Yeah.
Brady's also like heavily off balance in that fight after he got caught with one and still stayed on his feet for like 2 minutes, which is more a testament to Bilal's lack of striking, I guess. Just he looked out of it for a good minute and was still able to just kind of hang with it. And so I feel like Leon is probably even less capable of a moment like that than even Bilal was. So I'm not particularly worried, but
yeah, and Bilal also did technically go the decision as well. It's just like, I think this is the prove-it spot, so to speak, for Sean Brady, I guess is what the books are trying to tell us.
For sure.
So yeah, we'll rock with Sean Brady on this one, but definitely, like Jackson said, and Grant are kind of implying that like this is a little bit skeptical with Leon's resume because it's hard to tell.
It's a good fight. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a really important win for whoever gets it.
Like I feel like this is a fight if you're, so to speak, like obsessed with the UFC. This is a really good fight to watch because it's gonna be like very technical and stuff, I would imagine.
Totally, yeah. It's like it's not gonna be the most exciting fight by any means, but
it'll be a good one. But yeah, with that said, go ahead and download the Prediction Strike app if you haven't already. Invest in your favorite fighters. I can't remember if Sean Brady has a code off the top of my head or what his code was. I know Kevin Holland had one too. But with that said, Jackson's on mute real quick, it looks like. Go ahead and use our new kind of deposit promo that we're running right now where you deposit $10, you get $200 in promo cash, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, and if you have any complaints, I encourage you to go to the Discord. There's probably somebody sitting in there just like you with similar questions. And on top of that, you can get to Jackson rather easily, who can also help you with your various requests. But yeah, I think that's all we have here. If you haven't subscribed already and you've gotten to this point, well, you clearly enjoy what we're talking about. I encourage you to click that red button because, well, you get to come back next time. With that said, that's myself, Jackson, and Grant. Tail fade accordingly, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace now.
peace.